Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. It's been a busy day. Oh my gosh, it's been a busy day. It's the third video today. Thank you if you've watched all of them. I really appreciate it. If you enjoy these videos, please do make sure to give them a thumbs up. It can be a bit rough for a YouTube channel to publish 3 videos in one day for like the algorithm to be okay with that. And yeah, like if people don't watch all 3, it kind of punishes the channel. So yeah, anyway, any support you can show, thank you. I do appreciate it. Let's talk about Strategos Islin. He is the new fusion. I'm going to be showing you my initial impressions and initial showcase today. Let me get some bad news out of the way first, and let me show you a couple of really dumb things about him. I am pretty disappointed with this champion, for Hydra in particular. I think he's going to be good for Doom Tower, but for Hydra, a few things I really didn't like. Let me show you a couple. Let's dive in. Let me show you a couple of things that are just, well, one thing is just dumb. It's just dumb. And then the other thing is kind of obvious, but it is annoying for Hydra. So the first thing, let's check out his passive, right? Whenever this champion is attacked, heals himself by 1% of his HP for each 500 defense this champion has. This part is great. He's gonna actually give himself a ton of self-healing. It really adds up. Second part, heals all other allies under ally protection buffs placed by this champion by 30% of this skill's initial heal. So we're thinking, okay, you know, his ally protection, it's going to be up for 2 turns every 4 turns. So there's a bit of an uptime issue there. But when it's up, hopefully that could, you know, constitute quite a nice little bit of healing, right? Right? Well, here's the thing, okay? The move that puts out his ally protection buff also puts increased defense on everyone. That's nice. Gives some counterattack. It gives this champion a shield, which is proportional to his defense. And again, if he wants this heal to be good, he needs lots of defense. Watch this. Let me skip in a bit to the Hydra run. So as you can see at this point right here, for example, Ugo is at about half HP. Husk is even missing some health. Let's click play. We'll go on ahead. Here he goes. Mr. Islin, he's done his A3. He's given himself the shield counterattack. He's put out ally protection, increased defense on everybody. Here we go. We're about to get attacked by Head of Blight, the poison head, and watch what happens. All right, here it comes. Any second now. Maybe I rewound it too much. It's fine. So here we go. The hit's about to come in. Bam. You guys see what happens? So people take damage. Look at this. Islin, he has been hit. He has healed himself for 6,777 health. Now that's great. That's nice self-healing. He has healed Husk for, drum roll please, 0. 0. 0. 0. 0. As you see, Ugo's health bar, she's right here. She's halfway. Wait, I think I went too far back. She's like half health. The hit comes in. Islin's healed himself for 6,777. Ugo's healed for nothing. What is going on? Well, very simple. If he is at full HP, does nothing. The heal, even though he's healing himself, it only he needs to have lost HP and heal up lost HP in order for him to actually heal anyone else, is essentially the problem. And the problem is that this champion, he's going to have really good defense to make the heal stronger, and he gives himself a massive shield. He's a very tanky champion. This is not a champion that's ever, like if I zoom through this run, like you can see, he's almost at full HP for the entire gosh darn run. This guy never gets hurt, which means that he basically never ever heals anyone on the team. Ah, what is going on? Plarium, what is this? So this drives me mad. It's a massive, massive problem. Not only is ally protection only up half of the time, and in fact, if the rest of your champions are faster, which for Hydra is probably a good idea, it's not even going to be up for half of the time. So half of the time when it is up, well, guess what? It doesn't even matter because it's not even going to do anything anyway. This is kind of an absolute disaster. Now, it's going to work better in Arena, where, yeah, he will actually get hurt. It's going to probably work a bit better in Doom Tower, where he's maybe going to be a bit hurt, but it is, needless to say, a really big problem. Here's really big problem number 2. When it comes to Hydra specifically, right, his A1 can provoke. You're thinking, that's good for Hydra. When counterattacking, he's got a better chance to provoke. Now, this will be good for Arena, and this will be great for Doom Tower. Really, really good for Doom Tower waves. But when it comes to Hydra, well, what's the problem? Let me skip ahead to a point where the Head of Decay. There he is. The Head of Decay. You actually see he's stealing some stuff. The Head of Decay comes in. What does Head of Decay do? Head of Decay has only a single target attack, and he hits the person on your team with the least amount of HP. Strategos Islin will never be, or basically will never be, the person on your team with the least amount of HP, because he heals himself a metric ton every single time. Every time he's attacked, he's healing himself, and he gives himself a massive shield as well. This champion is never going to be targeted by Decay, at least so infrequently as to be utterly irrelevant. And therefore, he will never counterattack and never have that better chance to provoke. And ultimately, what it comes down to give you an idea, you can see, for example, in this run, I am running him with the Husk as well. And my theory was, okay, I've got 2 champions with A1 provokes. I can target the Head of Decay, and hopefully one of them will land a provoke, and A1 doesn't really happen. Couple of issues. So Husks, he's got double 40% chance, which is basically a 64% chance. And Islin has a 75% chance, which is double 50%. Well, it's not double 50%, it's double a 50% chance. So probability. Double 50% on its own would be 100%, obviously, but for chances, it's not. For probability, it's not. But yeah, so he's slightly better. His A1 is slightly better than Husk. But one of the big differences is with a Husk, right? I turn off his A3. Husk, I do a 4-turn cooldown A2, then I have 3 turns of A1. With Islin, that is not going to be the case, right? Because you've got a 4-turn A3, but then his A2 is actually extremely good. This is one of the best moves in this kit. This is great. AoE decrease speed with decreased enemy buffs. That's great. AoE attack. He's going to be doing these active moves, so his A1 is actually very limited, and I was doubly screwed at this showcase because I put him in Reflex, which was attempting to make his ally protection and his mischief tanking more consistent, and it just doesn't sync up. So his A1 for provoking Hydra, actually really not good. He's worse than Husk, practically speaking, especially because you probably ideally run Husk in maybe Relentless, whereas you wouldn't run Islin in Relentless. It would make his again, his mischief tanking much worse if you put it. So it is quite clunky. It's quite, yeah, it's not great. Some big problems with this guy. Okay, it's not great. Let me show you. So you got a bit of an idea for how his kit works. I already mentioned it. I built him in Reflex, and the theory here was pretty simple. I built him with actually very good speed, but the rest of my team are also very fast. I built him with solid HP and defense. I do think maybe the play might be to give him like no defense, but it's going to be hard. His base defense is 1500. He's got really high base defense. It's going to be hard to tank his defense and not give him any. Like, I've got him in defense percent gloves, but that's it. Like, his weapon has no defense, his helmet has none, his shield has none, his boots, okay, his boots have a chunk of defense percent, his chest has no, like, I've not given him much. He's in a resistance banner with no defense. He's got like 100 and something defense on his neck, and then he has, again, like 13% defense percent on a HP ring. I've not given him that much defense, really, and he's over 4,000. You know, it's going to be hard to get this low. It's going to be hard to make him squishy. I don't see any way to build him so this shield would be low enough to fall off and he actually gets hurt and actually heals your team. I just don't see it being possible. I just don't think it's possible. He's just too tanky, which is hilarious. But anyway, look, I built him with Reflex to try get his cooldowns down. Want him spamming out those moves. We don't want him in Relentless because I want him to have good uptime on his counterattack and his shield. He's going to have a small shield even from Blood Shield. That's fine with the counterattacks. Right, the Blood Shield accessory, small shield to help Head of Mischief target him. That's the idea. And yeah, that's basically what's going on. Reflexes to help with that. You saw the gear. For his masteries, I did go a bit of an interesting build. So all the way down with War Master, try to get some damage. He's counterattacking. He's got an AoE attack. It seems solid enough. Then for support, went a bit of an interesting way when I thought he might be good, which is give him a bit more shield power. And then give him some more heals. Again, the ironic thing is that giving him more shields sort of makes the heal worse. But hey, I think you probably give him these ones. And then gave him some turn meter when his buffs expire to help him with the mischief tanking, right? His counterattack and shield falls off. Give him turn meter. Try get back to that move quicker. More accuracy AoE seems straightforward. These seem straightforward. Extending his decreased speed and extending his buffs, so to make him hopefully better at that counterattack. That was the idea. That was the gist. I think it makes sense. It's a bit unusual of a support tree setup, but I think it makes sense. And I threw him into Hydra. So, show you the team that I was using. We did it on Brutal. A team concept was, well, actually, here it is. It's right here. Team concept with this. We got Razzlevarg. Actually, let me show you in the team setup. So I think a pretty accessible team. On the whole, we've got 4 epic champions in here, although 2 are void. And we've got Razzlevarg, who's also a recent fusion. Razzlevarg, Speed Aura, and he gives us increased speed. So there you go. The team is increased speed. Islin comes in, gives us decreased speed. 2 of the most important buffs and debuffs. We've got them both in the bag. Razzlevarg also has the AoE Leech, which will help heal us up. I think that'll be a nice combo with the theoretical healing that Islin will provide. Razzlevarg is just going to do good damage. Husk is in for damage. And again, here's a theory. We can click on Head of Decay, and then we've got both Husk and Islin with their A1s have that chance to provoke. All right, that's pretty cool. All right, let's see how it goes. We've got Ursula the Mourner for increased attack and AoE decrease. This is to help us survive. Increased attack is going to up Razzlevarg and Shamael's damage, who are both built with lots of damage, right? Almost 5k attack, 256% crit damage, and here over 5k and 300%. Shamael's a bit slow, but that's all right. And she also brings us to revive if we need. Ugo for decreased defense block buffs and some more healing. Islin, who I didn't give any presets to. And then Shamael. One thing to note, when you are building Islin, by the way, for Hydra, these would be the recommended levels of accuracy and resistance. So with Islin, I have him, including the Hydra area bonuses, at 471 resistance, 344 accuracy. So for Brutal, 344, yeah, we've got more than enough accuracy. He's going to get an extra 16 from his masteries, because there's four. That's four enemies. And then 450 resistance, we have that. Now, preferably you'd be up to 500 resistance between those two would be ideal. And here would be 505 resistance, which would give you the best chance. So he's not super perfect Mischief Tank. He's a little bit low in resistance, but he's still good enough to be 90, probably, off the top of my head, I guess that's about 92% success rate at resisting would be my guess, which is probably speaking, easy enough. We could drop the accuracy of everyone because Razzlevarg gives increased accuracy, but I decided not to. Apart from Razzlevarg himself, who has too low accuracy, he's going to provide his own increased accuracy. That's fine. But we could drop everyone else's accuracy and they'd get the job done. But this is the idea for Brutal. So I'll show you the run because I pre-recorded it. We'll up the speed as well. So this is the run. I might do another run with him where we could. Remember, I talked about it with Islin. Because I have him in reflex, he's not reliable at provoking. We could ditch the reflex. Then you've got the problem. If you wanted to mischief, you can see there he's mischief tanking, right? Because it gives himself a shield and counterattack. We've got no counterattack in the rest of the team, and obviously if you wanted to mischief tank, you shouldn't. Then we haven't brought anyone else with shields either. So we'll always be those 2 buffs ahead. Because he gives everyone else ally protection, that's sort of 1 buff for them. So sort of 1 buff ahead. This makes him, with being 1 buff ahead, it makes him an okay mischief tank. Not amazing, but decent. Like I said, I feel like reflex set is kind of needed to make that consistent. Or you could bring in someone like Oella, a buff extender, that could do it. Now, with Oella in particular, maybe there's an interesting team there. She would come in and give you, so you can see, for example, there, she had more buffs and it got stolen, right? Oella gives you increased resistance as well, and that might make it quite easy to build him out, right? You could have Oella with increased resistance, Razzlevarg with increased accuracy, and he's going to be very consistent then at that point, and you could build him quite slow with tons of HP, try drop his defense. We might try that out as well. We'll see. We'll see. But that's something that's worth noting. Or other, like Atlanticus the Chosen would be pretty cool as well. She's an ally attack. That would bring in his provoke, so that's great. And also extends buffs, so that's brilliant, fantastic. But I think, I didn't want to do a fusion showcase where you need a specific ally attack buff extend legendary that it's hard to get, Lanicus. So I didn't do that for this one. Tried to make it as accessible as I could. Yeah, look, you can see sort of how the team is working here. I did leave him with no presets. It does seem like he prioritizes his A3, not the decrease speed move. But yeah, I think one nice thing about him, he's not the best mischief tank, but the great thing is that even if some of those buffs go through, his A2 does decrease buff duration by a turn. So it actually makes any buffs that are stolen not that dangerous, because he's pretty reliable at just helping to remove them. So that's kind of good news, honestly. And I actually quite like that about him. So that's pretty cool. So that's definitely a thumbs up for him. I do like the A2. Um, but yeah, one big downside, I mean, as you can see, you've probably noticed it particularly by Ugo. He's got a cool animation like A2 as well. Particularly with Ugo here, you've probably noticed it, but affinity is a problem. On this test server rotation, I think 3 of the heads are force affinity. Islin is magic affinity. So in terms of placing decreased speed, and in terms of decreasing the buff, decreasing those buffs as well, he can weak hit and not apply it. Sorry, never mind. So the buff decrease happens anyway, but the decreased speed, that can weak hit. You can see that in this case, he just weak hit the head of Blight right there and didn't put decreased speed. So that can be a problem, especially in this case where Head of Mischief, we'd love to decrease speed, but we can't. One way, by the way, to make this team better would be to get a Hex set, a Cursed set on maybe Ugo, or maybe, what's her name, Ursula. That would make this team a lot better. That's how you could fit it in, or maybe even Razelvarg. But I don't have a curse set handy, and I thought that would make the team appear better than it is, which I didn't really want to do. But yeah, so that's something to note. He can weak hit with that decreased speed, which is a bummer. But he will be very reliable, as you saw with the buff decrease, which is nice. So at least you got that going for him. One slight problem, I suppose you could look at it like this in terms of his turns, right? So turn 1, turn 2. So you understand what's going on. Turn 3, turn 4, right? He's going to, by default with his AI, he's going to A3. This one he'll A2. Then he'll A1. And he will A1 again. Then the stuff comes off cooldown and he's just going to like cycle through it like this, you know? So he's not going to A1 very often by default. And obviously Reflex Set really mixes this up in a big way. Yeah, he's not going to A1 very often. So like I said, as your provoker, compared to a husk or compared to someone actually built for provoke more reliably, it's just not going to be good at it for Hydra, unfortunately. But yeah, you can sort of see how this run is going. Again, I love the animation. It's a cool animation. I think if we skip on a bit further in the run, we do have stuff get stolen and Head of Decay comes in. Let's skip ahead to that. So Head of Decay comes in. I think actually Husk was the one that provoked on this time. So yeah, Head of Decay comes in, and the theory is, well, we click the Head of Decay, and those A1 provokes get to work. So we'll sort of see how that goes. Let's dip on ahead a little bit. I think some buffs do get spread and whatnot. Yeah, so like right here, I think he just gets unlucky. No, does he get just unlucky? He might just get unlucky and it gets stolen. Again, this one's a little bit awkward because we're using Ugo because we need the decreased defense as well. Like right there, that's just a bit unlucky. It got stolen, and Ugo is going to struggle because look at this. We've got 3 heads that are force affinity. Ugo's really going to struggle for block buffs. This is rotation 2. So it's unfortunately on the test server, as you can see, it's probably his worst one. But look at that. That's kind of nifty right there. If I go back slightly, right, the buffs get stolen. The buffs get spread. Normally, this is a massive disaster. But it's like he's stealing everything and he's starting to counterattack. But look at that. He reduces all of those buff durations. So as soon as these heads take a turn, nearly all these buffs are going to fall off, these heads. So like he takes a turn and it's gone. He had extra turn anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. But I thought that was quite a nice little touch. And you see at this point, the run really does fall apart because of that stuff getting stolen. We just get absolutely slammed in because it was counterattack that was stolen. That's kind of a big problem with him mischief tanking. The counterattack was stolen. So I probably would aim for the higher resistance. So increase all of these. So like 465 res. It gets pretty rough. This would be 405 res. Yeah, it's not great. We come to the end. You see, he actually survives by himself for ages. Like, he just doesn't die. This guy is the tankiest dude who ever tanked in the world. He is actually ridiculous. His self-healing is now 5,000. It's lower because his max HP has been destroyed. Yeah, he's never going to die. He's, like, unbelievably tanky. It's actually ridiculous. Like, he's healing almost as much as the damage he's taken at this point. So he's super tanky. There we go. This particular run, brutal. It took me 25 minutes to do 39.8 million damage. Honestly, it was fairly underwhelmed. You can see Razelvarg actually outdamaged Husk and Shamail, which is pretty nuts. Razelvarg's kind of a beast. Now, he's getting turn meter boosted by Shamail a good bit. That's part of it, but still. See, Islin, in terms of his damage, there's nothing really there. Like, he's getting a bit of damage from War Master and the counterattacks, but it's nothing particularly special. Like, it's okay, but it's not game-changing. His healing is pretty rubbish. It just doesn't work. Basically, he heals himself, and that's basically it. Honest thoughts on And for Hydra, I think he's pretty underwhelming. My main issue is that for most people, it's fairly difficult to build him. I think he has perhaps some potential with champions like Oella. I might come back and do an Oella team with him. But it's so specific, right? With the increased resistance and the buff extension. There's potential there. But it's so gosh darn specific to make him work. I think you have to work very, very hard to make him fit into Hydra. He just doesn't naturally fit in. The A1 provoke is, I think, a bit of a trap for Hydra. It's just not good for it. AoE decrease speed, yes, it's great. His A2 is great. That's a great move. Brilliant. But this move, being a 4-turn cooldown, makes it very awkward. I think if they came in, if they made his healing actually work, and if they made this a 3-turn cooldown, or if they made him just heal regardless of ally protection, I think this champion would become a lot better. But honestly, as he is, I feel like for the most part, he's more of just a Doom Tower only champion. The biggest nail in the coffin for me is that I honestly think Vizix so underrated for Hydra, this champion. She is a guaranteed legendary getter for playing for 9 months. I know it's a long time, but by the time you're able to do fusions, you're a good bit of the way there anyway. But she has AoE decreased speed with ally protection on a 3 turns. It's much more consistent, and she's void, so no weak hits. She's AoE provoke on a 3 turn. So her provoking is actually more consistent than his is. Then her A1 doesn't do anything for Hydra in particular, but Vizix definitely has an issue with keeping herself alive. Her shield isn't that strong, and the ally protection is up quite a lot, so she will potentially get herself killed a good bit. She obviously probably not really built for mischief tanking. She doesn't have that many buffs for herself, though she does have really good base resistance. But I genuinely think that Vizix is probably going to be better in most teams than Islin. She's going to be more consistent at provoke, more consistent at decreased speed, more consistent at ally protection. She's just more consistent across the board. Very underrated champ that's viable absolutely for Brutal, even for Nightmare. Vizix. Islin, I don't know. Honestly, I'm still going to get him. I'm still going to do this fusion, but initial impressions from testing him out, not impressed. There's a lot of clunkiness to this kit for Hydra in particular. It just doesn't quite click. It doesn't. For Doom Tower Hard, I think he's going to be great, right? For Doom Tower Hard, he's going to be provoking all over the place. That's going to be great. And stripping their buffs and decreased speed is going to help your team stay alive. He might get hit hard enough to heal. He's going to be great. And he's accuracy there for Doom Tower Hard as well. He's going to be brilliant for Doom Tower Hard. But for Hydra and for most places in the game, yeah, especially for Hydra, where I was kind of hyped up to see what he could do. Not impressed. Might try him with some specific combos, but it's not. Yeah, I think most people are going to skip this one. It's not easy to make him work. And does he work better than Vizix, even if you do make him work? I don't know. So yeah, look, maybe I'm wrong. Let me know. Am I wrong? Have I missed something? Let me know what you think. But my thoughts on Mr. Strategos, Mr. Islin, was very disappointed. Very underwhelmed. I'll still get him probably because he's okay for Hydra, but not wowing me. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.